What about that, Gerald? Your reaction?
As I indicated when we started, we applaud efforts being made toward perpetrators of atrocity to justice, but the ICC is a weak institution. It focuses on crimes committed by the weak and those who have lost power. It's impotent as regards atrocities that have been committed by people who are still in office. And I particularly wish to commend the last speaker when he spoke. People like Bemba, they are not the ones who bear ultimate responsibility for the crimes they and their soldiers commit.
You think he's a pawn?
Absolutely. Everyone, like you and me, who is familiar with the history of the Great Lakes region, is fully aware that all these groups of rebels in the Congo were created, armed, trained, and even commanded by the governments, the heads of state of countries in the region.
For example?
For example, Museveni, for example, Kagame. So it's a legitimate question if...
What about José dos Santos of Angola?
And Mugabe.
What about Robert Gabriel Mugabe of Zimbabwe?
And the late Prime Minister of Ethiopia.
What about Chad?
Chad,
Burundi?
Burkina Faso, all those countries have been involved in sending, arming, training, commanding rebel groups in other countries. And the selective nature of prosecutions by the ICC and the UN tribunals is a matter of concern. There are institutions that focus on crimes committed by the weak, but they do not address the crimes that have been committed by people who are still in power.
What do you think needs to be done in order to make the ICC a more effective institution?
The one thing that would be most beneficial, it's unlikely to happen, is if the ICC, rather if the United States, instead of preaching about human rights, would actually become a member, subject itself to ICC jurisdiction, commit itself to abide by human rights principles and international law, and then in turn help to promote accountability by other states and governments. But that is unlikely to happen.
Some will argue, of course, that the Bill Clinton administration supported that effort. As a matter of fact, it was really pushing for the creation of the Rome Statute. It is simply the Senate that has never been able to...
Absolutely not. The Clinton administration knew that there was no way the US Senate was ever going to ratify that treaty. So it was a propaganda exercise.
Really?
Absolutely.
Do you have any empirical evidence on that?
I mean, the political system in the United States is that you do not subject American soldiers to the jurisdiction of international courts. And this, by and large, is something that is widely believed across the political spectrum. And that's why, as soon as the ICC treaty was signed, the United States government rushed around to force all of us, I was in government at the time, to force us to sign those Article 94 agreements.
98.
Article 98 agreements.
Your country was the first to sign, as a matter of fact, I think,
One
if I
of the
remember
very
correctly.
first, and it's not like we had
Ethiopia,
any choice in the
Uganda,
matter. Yes.
But Kenya didn't sign. South Africa didn't sign. Nigeria didn't sign.
Those are countries that I can understand why South Africa would not sign. But as I told you, when we started at the beginning, there are governments that are clients of successive United States administration that do what the US wants them to do.
Some might call them puppets and others might call them allies.
Regardless of what, terminology you use, we really did not have any choice in the matter. Neither did many other countries.